Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm David Steele and you've just been looking at my truck. And today we're taking some wood shavings in Arkansas. This is actually part of another Steam challenge. It's the one called the Paper Trail. But today's video is going to be a pretty short one, and that's not a short person joke, sadly. In fact, what is 100 miles? Yeah, just 100 miles to travel. And we have 7 hours to do it in, so we could verily go and explore part of Arkansas. But we're not going to. No, this is a very quick little video because I'm working on some more engines. It's like just when I think I've finished all the engines I could ever need, we find some more. Or in this case, they were found for me. So, under the hood of Red Thunder today is a Caterpillar 3406E, but this is a different engine code version. This is the 5DS. I believe that's the right engine code. And that's from memory. The 5DS is not the 14-litre motor, or 14.6. No, this is a 15.8-litre engine. And in that sense, it conceptually appears to be very similar to the C16, which followed on from the 3406E. Now, I'm sure it's not the same engine. It might be the same block and some other bits and pieces, but it's not quite the same engine. But in terms of power delivery and output and torque, I would say it's similar. Not identical, but similar. So, that's interesting. Now, when I sat down and looked at the torque curves, well, first things first, as a rule of thumb, if I'm starting a new engine or a new generation or year of an engine, I usually do not look at an existing similar engine. There's a couple of reasons for this. The main reason is sometimes the information I had on the previous engine is not correct, or is from how I used to do engines a time ago and not how I maybe do them today. That's the main reason, and so I'll take a fresh pair of eyes at the torque curve and the other details and feed them into the definition and take it from there. But the second reason is really a quality control thing. I mean, I've seen some engine mods and mod trucks where there's a whole slew of engines and they've got realistic looking numbers, but they don't perform on the road as you think they should. And then when you get under the skin and take a look at the engine definitions, you can see exactly why they don't, because the definitions are either identical definitions and torque numbers, or the numbers they're quoting are seemingly pulled out of thin air and don't reflect the true calculated power and torque you get from the engine. The long and short are, I want to just try and make sure that my engines are what they should be. And what they should be here is fairly accurate, not the word fairly, to the real thing. And there are sometimes a few differences. I think the main one is the clutch engagement torque, and that's because the game's map compression means that a gradient in the game can be pretty merciless on a low-powered engine, especially moving off from rest. So I'll tweak those really super low down torque numbers just to help the thing get off from rest. Anyway, let's go back to this particular truck, although first things first, I think it's time to open a tinny. So you might hear this, the noise cancelling might remove it, let's find out. Okay, don't know if you heard that or not. So, under the hood of today's truck is the 5DS Caterpillar 3406E. So that's a 15.8 litre, and this is the 600 horsepower version. Now there is a 575 version as well that I'm working on, but I'm taking out the flagship today because, hey, I can if I want to. Now Red Thunder's not necessarily configured for heavy haul. She is, I suppose, more of a heavy haul tilt, but not heavy haul, and that's quite on purpose. That is quite deliberate what we're doing here today. She's geared appropriately for a fairly heavy load. So it's a 13-speed manual that will cope with 50 foot-pounds of torque, and it's a 3.7 final drive. So it's a little shorter than the stock 13-speed you get with the game, but only a little.
Right.
And that is partly so I can cruise at 55 in top gear with really no issues. This engine really does want 1200 RPM on the tacho. I think it's set to be something like 1185 or 1190 RPM, and that's really to hope with the vagaries of the display. But it really wants 1200 RPM to perform, and so to reflect that, I'm using slightly shorter gearing, so the calculated revs at 55 miles an hour in top speed with this wheel and tyre combination is, I think, 1238 RPM. So I've got a few revs there that just to help, and I gotta say, it performs nicely. I've just set my cruise to 70, so it does a couple of things. One, it removes all the progressive shifting stuff, or all of the adaptive shifting, I should say. And what that means is that the transmission will shift up at the lowest possible engine speed it can on anything other than a moderately steep gradient. So we're getting up to 65 pretty quickly. Now, yes, I only have 8,000 pounds of wood shavings behind me. I've not exactly got a heavy cargo. My gross vehicle weight today will be something like 40 to 42,000 pounds. It's really not heavy, but it still gets up to speed beautifully. And I'm sitting at 65 at 1500 revs, so I'm right at the sort of muscle part of this thing's power band. If I come to a gradient, it's gonna, well, for the most part, it's gonna laugh at it. In fact, we might find out. Here comes a gradient now. Eventually, when we get there. But I think if this were really configured for proper heavy haul operations, or for those heavy cargos, those special cargos, I've got to slow down, the speed limit's changing, then we would likely have even shorter gearing, and an 18-speed, I dare say. Okay, I'm going to lose a bit of speed here. Turn left up here. A little bit of a stutter from the game, but I don't know how much that will come through on YouTube. So yeah, it's a very pleasant machine to drive with this sort of power spec. This transmission and gearbox works great with this engine. I wouldn't expect it not to be fair. In terms of efficiency, let's just say you don't tend to buy a 600 horsepower cat and expect to get amazing fuel consumption, but it's not terrible. 5-ish to the gallon, I suppose, defines what terrible is. Are there better and more efficient options for the W900? Yes, of course there are. But
Turn left.
do they have 600 horsepower? No. They may have enough for the kind of job in mind, but let's not concern ourselves today with that, shall we? So yes, got the new cat under the hood there. Now the other thing I've done, I should say I've finally done, is I've enabled the non-def tanks. I've started to enable those non-def tanks for some of the new engines, the new Caterpillar engines that I'm bringing into the engine pack. It's been a long time coming. Truthfully, I'd kind of forgotten that I hadn't done that. So today we're sporting the 300-gallon fuel tank, and there's no def. And if you look on the dashboard, the cluster of instruments just to the left of the map, the top right one, has got def. It's not showing any def because there isn't any. Right, let's manually get this thing up to 65. So I'm at full throttle. The adaptive shift will rev out a little bit more. There we go. Yeah, it didn't skip a gear. It knows we're up a gradient, and I've asked for full power. We start to flatten off, and it's off now. This cop car is going to let me in. I think he is. Good lad. All us. I mean, it could be a female cop. Yeah, and it short shifted me up into top gear pretty early there, and I'm not concerned about that. We were on the flat, and yeah, off we go. Right back down to 55. Great. So some other Caterpillar engines that we're bringing in. Found a definition of the 3406C, the 425. Now, when I say I did, it was actually Sputnik 7. He reached out and said, hey, I've got this. Do you want to have a look at this? And we've got a 3406C, the 425 version. That's going to be introduced too, along with some 1994 variants of the 3406C. And as well as the two 15.8 litre models, we've got we're basically filling out the rest of the range. So we've got a 435 engine with 1650 foot-pounds of torque as opposed to 1550. It's got a 500 horsepower engine, which was missing from my original information. And so yeah, I think quite a good chunk more 3406Es, but it's a real favourite engine. And I can see why a lot of people like them. I don't want to say there's nothing wrong, because it clearly does plenty wrong, but in terms of the power and torque that you get, and even the efficiency, given how you need to run the engine, it does great. A very, very likeable power plant. Now, if I'm right, and I may not be right, that does happen quite often. This is the last trip I need for the Paper Trail Arkansas steam accomplishment. I mean, I will find out at some point. Shit, we need to kill a bit of speed here. About to go through security. Okay, nobody looks suspicious. A little rough there. Oh, there we go. I guess we didn't look suspicious. That works for me. It's moving me off in second gear, and we have a low gear and a first gear as well, so it's quite happy with this amount of torque. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my warning lights on. So I've got my forward flashes on and my strobe. So look at that. You can't really see. I mean, it's not exactly dark right now, but yeah, we've got those lights on. Right, I wonder what the parking's going to be like here. We'll find out. So it's very much overkill to use this Mahusive engine on such a small cargo, but
kind of on time.
I did configure the truck for a little different route here. All right, let's see. It doesn't really look like a difficult challenge. I don't know why it's so far away. Clearly there's something very challenging there. Probably have to back it in the spot. That's implying I've got to reverse it in. I'm going to do the easy one. I don't really want to take the next 20 minutes of this trip. Right, well that just about wraps up today's visit, today's video. So I hope that you enjoyed this, I hope you got something out of this. And yeah, by the time you're watching this, it's entirely possible that the new Cat engines will be incorporated in the engine pack. But if not, they're coming very soon. So, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something from this. Thanks so much. I'll see you the next time. Goodbye.